Okay, peace and love to everybody out there. Thank you for tuning in. Happy Black History Month. In my books, it's always Black History, right? But anyway, this video, I will be talking to you about Leopold II. Okay? It's supposed to be King Leopold II, but I'm going to call him Leopold II, and I'm sure you would do the same after you find out just all of the things that he did. So in this video, I will tell you who he was, what he did, how it got covered up, and how it still affects the people of Africa or Congo specifically up till this date. Okay, so who was he? He was the King of Belgium from 1865 to 1909, right? That's who he was. What did he do? He is responsible for one of the biggest crimes in the history of mankind, if not the biggest crimes in the history of mankind. If you know about Hitler, if you know about Hitler, there's absolutely no reason you should not know about Leopold, because what he did far worse than what Hitler did. Okay. So a little bit of backstory. Leopold II had a father, Leopold I, who was the first ruler of Belgium. Now his father tried to colonize multiple nations. He tried to colonize a nation for Belgium before he died, but he always failed. He never succeeded. Supposedly he tried about like up to 50 times, something like that, to colonize a nation, but he never succeeded. They believed in that family that Belgium would never be a powerful nation, a respected nation, until they were able to colonize a nation. And they believed that countries like Germany, England, France, United States were as powerful and as respected the way they are because of nations that they colonized. Okay, so his father died 1865. Leopold II takes over rulership of Belgium. So Leopold wanted to obviously continue his father's footsteps, but he was so greedy and so messed up in the head that he did not want to colonize for Belgium. He wanted to colonize for himself, right? He wanted to take over a whole nation for himself. So the way colonization works, usually these group of people or nations or countries that aren't even from Africa, what they do is they'll get together in like some type of conference, and they will say, okay, Britain, you take Nigeria. America, you take Congo. Belgium, you take Sierra Leone. France, you take Ivory Coast. That's how it was. So this group of people will have some kind of conference, and then they will decide, okay, who gets what. That's how they decide who they were going to colonize. They would plan it, the techniques they would use, and so on. That's how it went down. So in 1884, there was a Berlin conference. You can look that up if you need to. 1884 Berlin conference. Leopold II brought up the idea of him. He gave a speech and spoke about how he wanted to help bring, wait for it, he wanted to go to Congo, but he wasn't going there to colonize for himself, for the country, or for himself or whatever. He was just going because he wanted to spread the word of Christianity, right? He wanted to bring Christianity to the people of Congo. He wanted to civilize them and convert them into Christianity. Okay, now think about what I just said. He wanted to bring Christianity. He wanted to convert them to Christians. And when you hear those two words, bring and convert, that tells you that, okay, they weren't Christians before. Africans have always had their own belief systems. Okay, I'm not going to talk too much about that. I'm sure you already got my drift. Let's move forward. So now the Congo, the way the Congo was, this is not a place that was easily able to colonize. Why? Because they had a lot of rainforest. They had a lot of animals. They had a lot of hard to go through terrains. They had a lot of animals in the jungles. They had a lot of insects that carried insects that were poisonous. So pretty much white people didn't want to live there. And then since he was saying he was going to spend his own money, he wanted to take Christianity to them. They're like, okay, feel free, go ahead, because they didn't want any parts of it anyway. So now look at it this way. They're gathering up, and he's trying to tell them, okay, these are my plans. The reason why he used Christianity is because, remember, this happened 1884. 1884? Yeah, 1884. 1884. By that time, 1865, America had already abolished slavery. right? So they, like I said, they all sit together and decide how they're going to colonize. They all know that, okay, for that slave trade around those centuries, they used Christianity. They would always say, "Oh, we come in peace. We're trying to introduce you to our God, your Lord and Savior, and so on." So obviously, he knew that that would work for them, since that's the same technique that they used, right? Fast forward, they approved it, right? They approved it. He got what he did was he didn't just go immediately. He heard about a colonizer or an explorer by the name of Henry Morgan. Excuse me. Henry Morgan Stanley. This is somebody that's a colonizer and explorer. This is somebody that will go to Africa, try to map out the terrain. Pretty much somebody that pretty much what he did was go there, look for the resources, look for what they have, go back to his country or whoever hired them and say, okay, you know what? Nigeria has a lot of gold. Ghana has a lot of oil. Liberia has a lot of grass. Whatever. So people got to really think. When you see a lot of people like that, you think they come in peace. They're really not coming in peace. They have a hidden agenda. So Leopold, this man by the name of Henry Morgan, already tried to convince Queen Victoria that the Congo was worth colonizing, but they always declined it. Leopold heard about him, heard about his work, and sent him to go and colonize, to pretty much go and get the people of Congo to sign over the country to them. So he went to Congo, spoke to the chiefs, and he was able to convince them that white people were spirits that could not be killed. Right? So he did a few party tricks, and believe it or not, you can actually call them party tricks. One of the things that he did was he took out a cigar and used a magnifying lens towards the sun to light the cigar. Some people have done this on YouTube. You might be able to find it. To light a cigar, because the magnifying lens drew, the sun, the heat, whatever, however you want to call it. So he convinced them and told them that, white people had power over the sun. They can use the sun to burn them down if they needed to. What he also did was, if you've ever seen like a game of like Russian roulette, where they put bullets in a gun, they spin it, and then, it's like one bullet, and then you try to shoot and kill each other. It was something along those lines. So here's what he did. He put bullets in the gun, and then he raised the revolver, and now the bullets will fall down into like your sleeve. But then he already had some bullets in his shoes. So he gave a Congolese man a gun, told him to step back, told him to fire at him. When that man fired, obviously nothing came out. So he stumbled over like, hey, I got hit. And then he'll take out the bullets from his shoe to show like, see, I got hit, but I didn't die. Here's the bullet that you shot. So he convinced him of that. And then another thing that he did was he used some kind of battery to make his grip very strong. So whenever somebody from Congo shook his hand, they would get like electric shock or static, which made them feel like, oh man, this man is really strong. So he was able to convince them. Anyway, they signed over Congo to him, but he was doing it for King Leopold. Keep in mind, they didn't speak English there because that wasn't their language. English or French, whatever language the Belgian people spoke. They didn't speak it, so they didn't know what they were signing. Anyway, that's how the colonization began. King Leopold sent his troops there, and as they were scanning through the territories and so on, man, what's going on with my voice? They came across a bunch of rubber trees, right? To be honest, I didn't even know that rubber came from trees until I started researching this. So they ran across a bunch of rubber trees. Now, around that point in time, this is like stumbling across a gold mine, right? Because there was a high demand of rubber, but there weren't that much rubber being offered. But now it's like, okay, we found all these rubber trees in the rainforest. White people weren't going to do the work because we all know all through history they try to go and find people to do the work for them. They weren't going to do the work, so now King Leopold is like, okay, enslave the people of Congo, right? Enslave them, pretty much. So enslave them by any means necessary. So what the soldiers would do was they'll go to the villages, burn down the villages. The people that are running out from the burning out villages, they will shoot some of the women, capture the men, and tell them, hey, you need to bring back 15 kilos of rubbers by the end of the day, or we're going to kill the rest of your family. That was the technique that they used. And that worked. So that's how it kept moving on. Killing, go and bring so and so amount. If you don't bring it, the rest of your family would be dead. Now, a man has to protect his wife, his family, whatever. So obviously they started doing what they wanted. And since the word already pretty much got around town that these men, you can't be killed, blah, blah, blah. I guess people didn't even try, or maybe some did try, but it's just, you know, if they burned all the records and so on, we didn't really find out about the ones that tried. Anyway, that's how they started gathering rubber, gathering rubber. King Leopold would personally give out bonuses to the soldiers that were able to get more rubbers. If you're giving out bonuses for more rubber, this made them treat the Congolese people even worse, because now the more rubber you produce, the more money that they would get. So this kept going on, going on, going on, going on, right? So it got worse. It now got to a point where it's like, remember, King Leopold said that he was going to fund this mission by himself. Since the countries weren't backing him, he was doing it for himself. So all of this was coming out of his pockets, the money to get ammunition, get people to go over there. So now they're low on ammunition. So he gives the order, if you're going to kill somebody for disobeying you, you need to make sure you kill them with one bullet. If you don't kill them with that one bullet, or after you kill them with the one bullet, you have to cut off their hand to prove that you did kill someone, which now led to an increase in people having cut off hands, because if the soldiers accidentally wasted a bullet for whatever reason, they would have to cut off a hand to show that, okay, I killed a man, or I wasted a bullet and I cut off a hand for it. Which is why up until today, if you Google, remember this was happening between the late 1800s and the early 1900s. If you Google King Leopold or King Leopold's limbs or hands or Congolese hands, severed hands, you see a bunch of people with severed hands. This is all the results of King Leopold and his army and the things that he did. Now, what doesn't sit well with me is the fact that after they started, you know, enslaving people and so on, they were able to capture some men from Congo, brainwash them or convert them or turn them around into being on their side. Now, this is probably because they probably had their families captured, so they felt like they had to do whatever they could to get their family free. So some of the men that actually were cutting off people's hands were from Congo. So it's extremely sad, because I just don't understand. I just couldn't really wrap my hands around that. In the research that's online, the research that I did, the books that I read, it's kind of like, you know, they forced them to do it. It didn't really mention anything about people rebelling against cutting off their own people's hands. So it didn't really sit well with me on you know, it didn't really make sense to me at all. And now the project is getting bigger and bigger. The word is getting back to Belgium that Leopold needs more men to help spread this Christianity mission or whatever. He needs more men. So now soldiers from Norway, Sweden, Denmark, they all wanted to be a part of this. When they all got to Congo, they were told that Congolese people are animals. These Africans are animals. Treat them however you need to. Don't feel bad about killing them, as long as they're producing what we need them to produce. Kept going on for years. But remember, this is going on for years. Years and years and years and years and years. It got to a point whereby it's like these people are literally being treated like animals, right? People are cutting off their private parts and hanging it on ropes to show it off. Women were being raped. Men were being beaten until death. Very, very, very gruesome things, all because they were stealing the resources, all in the name of Leopold trying to enrich himself. This still went on for years, to the point where now the whole population is enslaved. Another thing that I found out that I didn't even know before was, now they're getting, remember, Congo is a big country. They're getting a lot of people to do a lot of work. They needed more people, because remember, they're killing Congolese people anyhow. They're cutting off their hands, which common sense would tell you, if you cut off their hands, now how are they going to work? But they didn't care. They're cutting off their hands, so they needed more slaves. So now they would buy more slaves, or they would some way somehow get more slaves from other neighboring countries. And guess where some of more slaves came from? Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia, right? You wouldn't even, I never knew that. So they would get more slaves or more people from those countries, turn them into slaves. Some of them, they turned them into soldiers to help them control the people in Congo, because they promised them some kind of work. They were promised to pay them, and they wouldn't pay them. They would end up paying them in something like alcohol, right? A lot of craziness went down. So Africans have some blame in this as well, but you can't really blame the victims, because these people were probably threatened. Their families were probably killed in front of them, you know. So let's still focus on the fact that majority of these people were under the control of people from Belgium. Okay, but I do think that Africans have some blame in it because at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, death is probably better than being enslaved or watching your people go through that. That's just my opinion. It just didn't really make any sense to me. So kept going on. In 1890, oh, but before 1890, so there's an estimate that he made about 200 million francs, King Leopold, from all of this slavery and the resources and everything. Convert that to today's currency, it's about $1 billion. About $1 billion. In 1890, a Civil War veteran, a black man by the name of George Washington Williams, traveled to the Congo and was horrified, right? Heartbroken by all the things that he saw. He wrote a letter to King Leopold explaining everything that he saw. He didn't know that that King Leopold was aware or that he was the one actually giving all the orders. So he wrote a letter. You can find that letter is also a reference to the things that happened for those that like to ask for references. You can look up George Washington Williams' letter to King Leopold. I read that whole letter, and even the things that he saw, I didn't even mention some of them in here because it's extremely gruesome. Wrote a letter to King Leopold. King Leopold never responded, right? Another man by the name of Edwin Dean Morel, something like that. He worked in like the shipping yard in Belgium. Saw a lot of the incoming amount of rubber coming in and used his own common sense to figure out that there's no way this man is bringing in this much rubber because he's funding them by himself. There's no way he's bringing in this much rubber without enslaving people. So here's the thing. Belgium claims that they didn't know anything about what was going on. But remember, this man is bringing in all of these things, even though he claimed he was going there for Christianity. He's importing all of this rubber, all of these resources. In my opinion, there's no way they didn't know. It's kind of like you have let's say you have a 16-year-old child, 17, 18, around those ages. He doesn't have a job, or he has a job and he works at like a fast food, but he's bringing home like $1,000 every day or $1,000 every 2 weeks. You know that's not possible because 16-year-old, you don't really have a job that's paying you that much. In the back of your mind, you know that comes from either one or two places. It's either he's stealing or he's engaged in some kind of criminal activities. So Belgium can claim that they didn't know all they want, but common sense will tell you that they knew. They just turned a blind eye, and they just, their country was being built, and they just didn't care about it. Okay, so Edwin Morel started doing his own investigation, found out everything that was going on, started writing anonymously in the newspaper. So for the people of Congo. So now people are finding out more and more and more about it. They found out who he was when he wrote the anonymous articles in the newspaper. They tried to bribe him that he should shut up and just write positive things or whatever. He disagreed. He started writing more and more. He wrote a book called Red Rubber. That's also another reference. You can look that up if you need to. Red Rubber by Edwin Morel. Now, prior to all of this, prior to the two people that actually started speaking the truth, the African man, Civil War veteran, and Edwin Morel, Leopold already hired writers in Belgium to write positive things about him, saying that he was doing good with the Christianity, he was spreading the word of God. Mind you, those people that he hired never even been to Congo to see what was actually going on, but they were getting paid. They wrote positive things about him. So in the eyes of people in Belgium, he was a great man, he was a humanitarian, he was doing good things. Okay? Fast forward. So now people from Belgium pretty much found out. The kings found out, or the governments found out. A lot of different people found out. So now it's like, okay, we see what Leopold is doing. We have to stop him. What do? They don't punish him. They don't kill him. They paid him 50 million francs to now take over Congo and now make Congo a colony of Belgium. So you can't really say that, oh, we didn't know what he was doing, but when you do find out, you don't punish him. I mean, I guess it was the king, so how can they? I don't even care. They paid him 50 million francs to take over. So now, Belgium, yeah, Belgium takes over the colony. Now, King Leopold was paid. He ended up dying a year later. He was paid, and now it's now a Belgium colony. Oh, and one thing that I forgot to mention, before he died, right, he built a human zoo, right, I'm smiling, but inside it's not really laughter. He built a human zoo. This was in 1897. He built a human zoo, captured about 200 people from Congo, and had them captured them in Congo, took them to Belgium and had them displayed in a human zoo. where now people from Belgium will come and see the Congolese people in like cages. They will throw fruits and bananas at them, acting like they're animals, acting like they're monkeys. These people had to sleep out. If you know about Belgium, then you would know that it's not hot all year round. So these people that were captured would have to sleep outside, and where a lot of them actually died from pneumonia, influenza, and so on. Right? But people of Belgium were going to visit. So people always say, oh, not everybody's evil. Just dumb things that people say in my opinion. But you're going to visit people that are just darker than you, and you're seeing them in cages, and that just sits well with people. Anyway, so they took Congo from Leopold. Later on, Belgium themselves in 1958 created or opened up a human zoo, something like similar to what Leopold did. So you see what I mean? Is like you can't say, oh, this man did was wrong, but then you ended up following his footsteps. You ended up creating another zoo with Congolese people in it. So now Congo becomes a colony of Belgium for decades, even after that. Now they discover diamonds, gold, different types of resources. And if you remember my last video, I said that Congo is the richest nation on earth. If not the richest, then it's definitely top 2 or top 3. So Belgium is pretty much built off of the resources that they stole from Congo. But after Belgium took over Congo, they were paying the people of Congo, but you would know that obviously they're not paying them enough. They're still using them for some sort of slave labor. And if you look at where Congo is now, it's literally one of the poorest countries on earth, even though it is the richest. But now, that's pretty much the end of the story. Eventually, Congo got their independence, which led me to Patrice Lumumba, who wanted to be free economically, politically, financially. But what do? They end up killing that man anyway. So look at how crazy it is. Look at how crazy and greedy people are, or wicked people are. You've had decades of enslaving these people, raping, pillaging your way. Now somebody stands for freedom. Even you've had decades of stealing everything. Your country has been built from these people, and now you still don't want them to be free. Like, do you understand like my point? So to sum it all up, people will say things along the lines of, oh, yes, slavery happened, but people alive today aren't responsible for slavery. There's nobody alive today that was a slave owner. I despise when people say those kind of things. Yes, it's true, nobody alive today was a slave owner, but I bet you they're still reaping the benefits. Here's an example. King Leopold, right? I said he made about $1 billion worth of money from all the things that he took, right? Remember, he died in 1965, I think. No, 1909 or 1910. Something along that time is when he died. That's not that long ago. That's only about 100 years ago. So if you make that kind of money where you own land, you own infrastructure, you help build your country, that money is still in their system somehow. His descendants or his family members who probably changed their name are still benefiting off of the money that he created. So I don't want to hear anything about people aren't benefiting from it. They didn't own slaves, because if you do research, they're still making money off of it. Right? Another thing, Belgium itself was built off of Congo. So are people there? Do they own slaves? Maybe not. But since the country was built on it, it's rooted into the country's origin. So therefore, the reason why the country prospered is still because of Congo. So has Belgium ever since then done anything to help rebuild Congo? No. Did they repay Congolese people? Did they give them reparations? No. Do you understand what I mean? So all of that, oh, we apologize for it, all of that doesn't matter, because that country is still in shambles. That country is still pretty much destroyed. So people got to really, really think deeper into these things. Like, you can't say, now, this is why I always say that history is more important than reading religious books. Because if you look at it, history is what would tell me that King Leopold came trying to bring Christianity to Congo. If I'm a Christian or I'm reading religious books, it's not going to mention that in there. So if I'm not reading my history, I'm just reading religious books, I would probably still want to go to Congo and visit. Still want to go to Belgium and visit and look at their infrastructure, look at the gold they have, look at all the things that they stole from the people of Congo. History might be boring to some people, but you need to read about your history. Like, for example, when I went to 11th grade and 12th grade in America. and I always hated the history classes. And now it makes sense to me. I hated it because something in me knew that it was a lie. Something in me knew that they weren't telling the whole truth. Something in me knew that I don't care about this history. I didn't really like history until I started researching about my history, my own people. You know, so it's like, I'm not even going to try and tie too much religion into this. I'm going to do a whole another video on that. But, you know, learn about your own history, because now if people from Congo, if they don't even know about this, they're more likely to still want to go to Belgium and visit. You should never step your foot in Belgium because they haven't even repaid you. Oh, let me even tell you. So within a span of 20 years, about 10 million people from Congo was killed. About 10 million people. They said that's about 70 to 90% of their population. And this is all from King Leopold. So look at that. Would you find that in a religious book? No. So some way, somehow, this man managed to be responsible for the murder, the mutilation of about 10 million people. Some estimate for it to be more. So after all his business, after all people started finding out what he was doing, he ordered people to, like the soldiers and everything, he ordered them to burn all the evidence, to cover up the evidence, to burn all the files, all the letters. He ordered them to burn all of that stuff. This is also how our history has been hidden, because a lot of that stuff, obviously they don't want you to know. They would have destroyed it some way, somehow. You know, but that pretty much sums it up, man. Yeah, it's, you know, anyway, that sums it up. Thank you for tuning in. Feel free to subscribe. It should be somewhere over here. And feel free to watch my next video. Thank you for watching. Oh, let me throw out my, give a little bit of my disclaimer, right? This video is not to get you to hate white people or Europeans, French, colonizers or whatever. It's not to get you to hate them. It's not to get you to hate a specific group of people. It's just to get you to think. I'm giving actual facts, actual history. It's to get you to love your own people, to love one another. It's to get you to support your own people. Because if you don't know about something like this, it's easier for you to go and support outsiders. But hearing about something like this, knowing about what your people have actually gone through, next time when you see another black man or another African, you can smile at him instead of grinning. You know, because things like this have been hidden. And the more we expose things like this, the more we can love each other, support each other, and hopefully, you know, get ourselves out of this situation that we're in. Okay, other than that, it's been real. Thank you for watching. Peace.